Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Wild Open. My name is TJ, and I'm joined by Le Frodan.
Le Frodan.
Zip Cubes!
Great commercial series, and of course, we've got a lot of great Hearthstone action coming up here as we continue through the lower bracket of the Americas portion for this Wild Open. If you guys are just tuning in, we took the top 64 finishers from the month of May 2017, and we put them in a top 64 double elimination bracket, and we've gotten down to the top 4 of all 3 regions outside of China, and to find the top 2, he'll be joining us in July.
Yeah, we already have 5 players that are going to that live finals that we've seen qualify from China, from Europe, and of course we just saw McNuggets from Americas book his spot. Now we're going to go down to the lower bracket portion of Americas where we're going to see SilentStorm. I'd say a pretty household name for a lot of you who follow the competitive scene pretty closely. And then he's going to be going up against GingaNinja to try and fight their way through that lower bracket to try and have their chance of advancing to the live finals.
Yeah, and it'd be cool to see SilentStorm continue to do well again. We haven't really seen too much of him since he kind of took like a miniature hiatus. It's not really more of a break so much. He just kind of eased up a little bit on the competitive scene.
Yeah. He was going ham.
Right. He was doing really like everything at one point, and then he just kind of scaled back and relaxed a little bit, still climbs ladder. I believe he actually finished both 64th in Wild Legend as well as Standard Legend. Exactly 64 on both. So it was a really funny achievement there. Just like a small little Easter egg for the viewers.
Yeah, and GingaNinja, on the other hand, he's a player that we actually just saw participate in the Asia-Pacific playoffs recently from Australia. So he is no stranger to the competitive scene in Standard of his own, and we'll see these two guys clash. And SilentStorm, Dan, if you remember back, SilentStorm got his start in competitive play Season 1 of the ESL Legendary Series, which took place right here at the ESL Studios where we are standing. And if he makes it back, how fitting would it be? He got his start in standard competitive play here at the ESL Studios, and then if he makes it, that's where the Wild Finals are going to be as well. He'll start his Wild career in the same place.
Oh, it'd be poetic, to say the least. Look at the bans. GingaNinja banned SilentStorm's Mage, and SilentStorm has banned the Priest, and that kind of indicates that I think SilentStorm's playing more of a control lineup, and I think that really isn't kind of a no-brainer there. SilentStorm has always loved control decks, always liked being greedy, and he's always been very fond of slow Warlock decks, so it doesn't surprise me that he probably has Reno Warlock in his lineup.
He actually, you know, almost to a fault, used to bring Priest randomly in his tournament lineups.
Sure.
Just, you know, one day he would show up and bring Priest when nobody else was playing Priest. And sometimes he would win, but a lot of times he would lose. But, you know, we commended him for his efforts. Priest, I think, is a lot better situated now in both Standard and Wild than it has been in the past. As you could, you know, see by this series that we just saw between Control and McNuggets, Priest was pretty successful. But let's jump into it. GingaNinja is going to be on the Pirate Warrior for Game 1 and SilentStorm on the Reno Warlock.
Yeah, now Reno Warlock against Pirate Warriors still kind of heavily depends on the ability to draw into early game removal, and SilentStorm does have the Swittic Swampus and Hellfire, but that's pretty weak, as he has 2 cards which are perceived to be dead in the matchup. Twisting Nether and Abyssal Forcer, by the time you get to them, most likely the game has already been decided before that.
Yeah. Now, GingaNinja held back on the Rusty Hook swing.
He does have that Bloodsoul Cultist.
He does have Bloodsoul Cultist, but passes on turn 2.
Crucial.
SilentStorm, he's probably pretty happy to see that, but I mean, he knows what's coming. Bloodsoul Cultist was definitely telegraphed by the no swing. Also, no other weapon in hand was telegraphed by the no swing on turn 1. So, lots of things, you know, lots of information being given to SilentStorm, even just by little small inches.
Yeah, and now GingaNinja does have the South Sea Captain, which does allow him to stack some board presence there. I like using the Captain over the Frothing Berserker because the second Captain gets even stronger. And that gives SilentStorm some opportunity to set up this Imp Gang boss. He picks up Dark Bomb, which is also going to be useful in the following turns as well. He's thinking about maybe even tossing it out now, but I think Imp Gang boss just sets up for even better Hellfire. It depends on how much damage he wants to take this turn, right?
Yeah. I think at this point you have to be willing to take the damage just to play on curve. Once you get to those mid-game terms, you sort of need all the mana that you can spare in order to move the board much of the time. Yeah, of course, there may be opportunities where the Dark Bomb would have been better, but I think in-game boss just sets him up for the best position to succeed as this game starts to ramp up.
Yeah, I certainly agree. You can just look at how intimidating that board presence is getting. I wonder if GingaNinja will pay attention to that 1-1 at all. He's playing around Demon Fire or Hellfire. Let's see, and he does end up doing that. SilentStorm can remove a lot of board presence, though, with this Hellfire still.
Yeah, but it's not as good as he would have hoped.
Oh, man, he drew almost every one of his expensive cards. He drew Mountain Giant, he drew Abyssal Forcer, Twisting Nether, and Jiraxxus. Just seems like it's the opposite of the Reno Warlocks we saw earlier.
Yeah, this is tough. I think South Sea Captain was the only thing that punished the in-game boss play, as opposed to, anything else that he could have played on turn 4. Any of the other pirates would have still been able to be traded into and then hellfired away. So GingaNinja just keeps picking up damage, and he gets the Bloodstone Cultist as well. So he's got repeating damage, and SilentStorm reels back. He knows that he's in a lot of trouble, and to be honest, I don't even think a lot of trouble does it justice here.
Yeah, it's almost lights out from this point on. He's got so much of a board to fight back, and he's pretty much just picked up all of the expensive cards. The other half of his deck that he hasn't drawn, actually the other 2/3 of his deck he hasn't drawn yet, is filled with defensive cards. And Leroy Jenkins, Heroic Strike, pick your poison. Doesn't really matter at this point. GingaNinja going to start off with a Game 1 victory.
Yeah, and a very quick one at that. Pirate Warrior, we didn't even see any wild cards, really. It was just straight up good old Pirate Warrior goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Ship's Cannon came to the hand, but...
Is that a bald eagle? SilentStorm's from Canada and GingaNinja's from Australia.
It is the Americas region.
It's still the Americas.
Still the Americas region. We'll take it.
We'll take it. Yeah. Ginger looking pretty calm.
That's right. And also important to note that because we have 3 Canadians and Australian, actually no USA members or members from South America have made it to the top 4 of the 64 Wild here.
Yeah, that's kind of funny considering the U.S. has the large majority of the population of the Americas regions in general. So, and of course, with the Americas also, include, since they play on the America servers, Southeast Asia countries as well as Australia and New Zealand. So like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, those all the Southeast Asian countries. But these guys thus far have had to play through a lot of those strong players from the U.S. So we can take a look at the roads for both GingaNinja and SilentStorm. And there's some recognizable names up there. GingaNinja's only loss so far in the tournament has come at the hands of Control. And SilentStorm's only loss has come at the hands of McNuggets. So both these guys definitely have had good roads up until now. Yeah. I guess Talion is one of the names that I recognize the most from that list.
Yeah,
SilentStorm single-handedly knocking him out of the tournament, his fellow Canadian.
Huh. That's right. And actually, Talion and SilentStorm are both from the same practice groups originally.
Yeah, and also LeVar Burton making his way back into competitive Hearthstone after his stint on Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. Glad to see him back as well. Looks like he's chasing the dream.
He is.
Our next match, I believe, was told was Mage versus Priest. That's going to be a pretty interesting thing to know. Now, I think if you're SilentStorm, you can't be too upset. In the end, Reno Warlock is pretty unfavored against Pirate Warrior. I mean, Pirate Warrior just has the edge in general because of how explosive it is. And even if you did have early game, they have so much burst that it's just difficult to handle without Reno itself. And GingaNinja still has Shaman, which I'm kind of curious about because, when you have Priest and you have Pirate Warrior, that's kind of like 2 ends of the spectrum, so to speak. So I don't think he's playing an all aggro lineup, but does that mean he's playing aggro Shaman or is he playing control Shaman? I'm curious.
I don't know, but Rob left his notes in front of me. He left them on the desk by accident.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and
what is this?
Next,
TJ smells like cheese.
That's the first one.
Also, is that what
it is? He also drew a picture of Thrall, and next to it put aggro Snowman.
Well, at least his spelling doesn't affect his casting, right? All right. Well, it looks like we have Priest coming up for SilentStorm. Now, he does have this Crystalline Oracle, which does make me immediately think that he has a N'Zoth package in his deck.
Oh, yeah?
So yeah.
Wow, Dan, you're so smart.
Well, I mean, come on. Just just trying to explain it. N'Zoth Priest in Wild can actually be built in both an actual N'Zoth build or a Reno N'Zoth build, which features Kazakus and those other good singleton deck cards, like maybe even Raza the Unchained. And it's largely because Priest actually does have a multitude of cards. Admirable mentioned it. Throughout the years, Priest has gotten really powerful individual cards like Dark Cultist that you may have forgotten, Valence Chosen, Death Lord. They all kind of synergize together with the new cards like Cabal Talon Priest, Lyre the Sun Shard, and Raza and Kazakus, and even Vol'jin. So don't even be surprised if SilentStorm has a Reno. We're not sure exactly because, again, we kept the deck lists pretty secretive amongst also because the players don't know either.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about turn 2, but GingaNinja forewent the ping in order to go with the Primordial Glyph, and he picked up Molten Reflection. Double Archmage Tinnitus is a possibility.
It could be. I mean, Priest is a deck that does tend to struggle with dealing with all of the burst at one time.
Yeah.
And this is Wild, where Emperor Thorstein does exist, and with double Acolyte, it just almost means that GingaNinja's for sure playing Freeze Mage. SilentStorm picks up a second Doomsayer from GingaNinja deck. That's not going to be useful, I think.
Yeah.
He's going to always want to be proactive onto the board, so Doomsayer just doesn't do anything. Although it does kind of challenge things like Acolyte, but not going to be pretty useful there.
Yeah, but the Mage can always get the card anyway from the Acolyte of Pain.
Right,
so,
right.
Sometimes they can even be happy to give up their Acolyte of Pain in order to sort of make room in their hand if they don't want the third draw from it, if they only want to take 2.
Now, I wonder how good Deathlord is, because if you're able to pull out your opponent's Alexstrasza, they just lose a huge amount of their damage. The other side of it is you might pull out their Emperor Thorstein. You just discount their entire hand, and then you completely corner yourself that way. So Deathlord does have a very interesting dynamic in this matchup specifically, because it could be like Dirty Rat. Win you the game or lose you the game.
Yeah, just the old rip the Dirty Rat on 2 and hope it pulls something bad. I've made that play so many times.
Well, it's also matchup and hand texture dependent. Sometimes you feel like, well, your opponent's not really playing many cards. He must be holding a lot of expensive cards. Maybe I want to pull it out so that way I can really ruin it.
Yeah. Combo pieces. GingaNinja just going to continue to draw through his deck. What a deck it is.
Yeah, and I think... Are you just admiring the cards in his deck?
I am.
Listen, TJ, it's not about the size of the hand that matters. It's what you do with it. And at this point, SilentStorm has so many singletons that I'm almost convinced that it's Reno at this point.
It may be. Reno N'Zoth.
Yeah, I mean, cards like Light Bomb, Dragonfire Potion, and Tomb are great as one-ofs. So we'll see if he has a little bit more. GingaNinja picks up a pretty important card in the Evolved Kobold, because that really helps him get the burst in one turn. Does have to pick up Emperor Thorstein, though, and his hand's getting a little full.
And he does have to worry about how much damage he's just actually taking, even though that Deathlord and that Mad Scientist are only 2 apiece. That really adds up, and it can shorten your clock and make it so you don't have time to draw into the stuff that you need.
Yeah, it's interesting that GingaNinja picked that Molten Reflections, like you mentioned, TJ. What were the other choices that he had besides that?
I wasn't looking.
It was a little fast. I was too busy kind of going off the N'Zoth.
Yeah, I was looking at Rob's notes.
I feel bad, like we're peeking into his diary or something. Oh, the rest of the pages are blank. I was just looking through the rest of the stuff. Rob's walking up to them, taking his notebook away. Oh, they're not blank. They're just half. Okay, gotcha. I gotcha.
Look at these. These are beautiful.
So I turned to this page specifically, and it was Rob, get up. We're casting a game. Oh, man. Looks like Sylvanas is going to come down here. Normally, Sylvanas is pretty risky against the Freeze Mage, primarily because they can kill the Sylvanas and force you to steal a Doomsayer. But SilentStorm knows that the second Doomsayer is in the deck from this Crystalline Oracle, from the one that died a few turns ago. So it's an unlikely scenario that GingaNinja has a second one. Even so, he had to use Burn. Mm-hmm. There's also like a funny dynamic between Deathlord and Sylvanas, because Sylvanas gets steals the Doomsayer. Doomsayer brings out another minion on your opponent's board, and then you can immediately answer it. So GingaNinja doesn't have any more card draw outside that Acolyte of Pain, so he's kind of thinking about what he wants to do with it. If he can even afford to take him enough damage, because if he pings with the Acolyte, he can't Frost Nova.
Yeah, I mean, he can try and go for a kill into the Death Lord and hope something good comes from him, but as you mentioned, the Sylvanas makes that just a little bit awkward. But he's going to buy time. He doesn't want to draw too many cards, because if he plays Acolyte and then... Wow. Double Doomsayer. All the way across the sky.
Do you want to Entomb the Acolyte?
Just to deny card draw?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility, but then you may give up, you know, your power to remove something a little bit more important. Say Archmage Ananias comes down, he doesn't have a way to deal with it right now.
I guess you could Light Bomb and trade. And I mean, you also have Sylvanas, so it kind of threatens any big minion he plays. And you also have some really powerful abilities with Vol'jin on your own Sylvanas. So if he plays Antonidas, you just Vol'jin your own Sylvanas, steal his Antonidas.
Yeah.
It's interesting, you know, the fact that usually you use Entomb for really big target removal on things like Ysera and other really wacky stuff. And looks like SilentStorm's okay with GingaNinja drawing cards. He's swapping with the Acolyte, so that way he's only one card less. So I guess he denies a card draw, technically.
Interesting.
That was a very interesting play, and I think it's because SilentStorm just wants to pressure him. He's making a read that GingaNinja has a bunch of awkward cards. Maybe he's got a lot of burst, but he can't kill, and so he's trying to put enough pressure onto the board to threaten to pop the ice block. That's at least how I'm interpreting it, and that second Frost Nova pickup is massive for GingaNinja, because he would have had to use some removal.
He's already down to 13 cards. He's drawn so many.
Yeah, let's start counting damage, how much GingaNinja has. He has 2 Fireballs, so that's 12, plus Torch is 15, 2 Frostbolts is 21, plus an Ice Lance is 24, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards that he needs to spend with 10, 15, 16 mana, plus the Cold Ball, so that's 20. So even if over 2 turns, he couldn't get the burnout. Because that would be enough to kill.
Dan's pupils just turned into numbers.
It's kind of like Zach Galifianakis when he's trying to like see all the algebraic equations, like the differential and the integrations and stuff. Oh man, I was trying to see everything, but the point being is that GingaNinja doesn't have enough mana over 2 turns to even go for the burn, because he does have an ice block, so he'd have to go for like fireballs plus ice block plus the cold balls, and just wouldn't be able to spend it all. But he does have damage. He does have a ton of damage. The big problem, too, is if he picks up Emperor Thorsan, I don't think... does he have enough for an OTK if he discounts the Cobalt and everything else?
Well, can we get the numbers to float around Dan's head again?
All right, you focus on this. You cast through this Priest play, and I'll count.
All right, let's see. The spell Shadow Visions was played. Shadow Visions, of course, allows you to discover a spell from your deck. SilentStorm, in this instance, opts to go for the Shadower Death, a 3-mana spell that allows you to kill a minion with 5 attack or more. Are you done yet, Dan?
Yeah, he wouldn't have 2-turn lethal.
All right, we got there.
Yeah, I think the most he can do is 27, but I have to kind of count. He's picked up his Doomsayer, so now he can eliminate his opponent's entire board. And
he's going to get a
minion. But if it's Alex Straza, that could be disastrous.
Yeah, that's a...
Okay. That's actually a pretty good scenario, because now he gets to draw. But SilentStorm's just going to drop the N'Zoth, summon everything back. Says, now I know you don't have a second Doomsayer.
Drop the Zoth.
All right, well, can GingaNinja piece together the burn now? Oh, interesting. He's not going to even try. Because he had Thanos on the board. He does end up picking a Blizzard, so he can stall for another turn.
He wants that, the Emperor Thorsan.
Oh, another Ice Lance. That's so powerful with the Evolved Cobalt. GingaNinja's now counting. Okay, so he's got Fireball, Frostbolts. Or actually, no, he can even Fireball now and then have double Frostbolts and Ice Lances with the Cobalt instead.
I think he wants to try and wait as many turns as possible before he does it, just to make sure that he sees all of the plays before he sees all of his draws before Reno picked up. So now, I mean, GingaNinja has to be onto this, that this is a Reno deck. He's seen a lot of weird cards. You know, Vol'jin was probably a little bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, and GingaNinja has 22 from the hand right now, maximum, based off of if he uses his Frostbolts and his Ice Lances in combination. And that's not enough for burst. If he's able to get an Emperor Reduction, he can squeeze in another Forgotten Torch. Oh, and another Ice Lance, which would actually be lethal. That would actually be 32 damage, I believe.
Well, how much damage does he have right now?
22 maximum, I think.
He's got 3 Ice Lances that he can use all of them.
Oh, wait, yeah, you're right. Hold on, I have to count the third Ice Lance. So it's 2 Frostbolts, 3 Ice Lances. Oh, he's getting Molten Reflections. That's what he's been playing the entire time. I forgot about that card, DJ. Is that enough? I didn't have to redo my calculations. I think that's it. Wow.
That is.
Oh, my goodness.
He cracks his knuckles. He's like,
knew.
whoa.
I did not expect that coming at all.
No, me neither. That wasn't part of...
And we were like, man, Molten Reflections?
And
But he picked up the Evolved Cobalt, and that combination just won him game 2. Well played, sir. Well played.
much like Zach Galifianakis in that clip, even the simplest of math, the numbers just don't even matter.
Yeah, look, I mean, we forgot about it because we were just like thinking about like, man, what do we want to combo with that with? But it makes a lot of sense. Having 2 Cobalts makes a lot of burst happen, and that third Ice Lance was basically the thing he needed.
Yeah. So that's we thought he was looking for Emperor Thorstein to reduce, but he was also looking for the Ice Lance because you knew he was counting the damage up. I think at the end of the day, it ended up being 3 damage over. Something along those lines. Because he had the 3 Ice Lance, which would eat 8 damage, plus the Frostbolt, which was 7. So that was 31 damage. So no matter what, with the case that he had set up, he was golden. And that's what he was counting that one turn. He was like, well, if I take Ice Lance, my potential damage with this Molten Reflection is actually just an OTK. So very well played by GingaNinja.
That's right. That's right. And he clearly understands exactly his win condition because he specifically picked that on turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that about Freeze Mage and Wild is just showing the flexibility of Primordial Glyph and how powerful that card is. And while you're primarily looking for a lot of burst, if you're looking for like Pyroblasts, you're looking for Fireballs, man, this guy took a Molten Reflection on 2. I am extremely impressed.
Yeah, and we were talking about Archmage tonight for the Molten Reflection, but a lot of times that's even cut from Wild lists because you don't have room for it. If you're going to set up a one-turn kill with cards like Emperor Thorstein, Evolved Kobold, and Ice Lance, as you can see as some of our Freeze Mage key cards, then you don't need that extra burst damage because against every deck but like Control Warrior or Jade Druid, you're going to be able to set up those turns where you just kill them without ever even having to get additional burn from other sources. So, just GingaNinja showcasing why he's in the top 4 Wild.
Yeah, absolutely, and just a very good mastery and proficiency over Freeze Mage by being able to utilize that Molten Reflection, which we discounted. So now this is kind of like an important turn that we kind of talked about for a while, Sylvanas and the Doomsayer interaction. And what's important is that it gave GingaNinja the turn he needed to assemble burn, because right now in his mind, how much damage does he have with the Evolved Kobold and the Molten Reflection prior to that?
Well, he only had 6 mana, so right then the maximum amount of damage that he could have done was 15. So we needed second Ice Lance. With second Ice Lance, that total goes up to 23.
Right, and then he needed that third Ice Lance, which is pretty huge.
But say he picked up the Emperor Thorstein. I mean, his damage totals were getting in like the 40s or 50s even. So the Molten Reflection was definitely a great pickup by him in the first place because he knew that as this game goes on, he was always going to find a moment to use it. And good on him for spotting it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and you got to admire, GingaNinja being able to identify his win condition. Although you got to also think back to, at its core, these kinds of priests do struggle with Freeze Mage. It shouldn't be that surprising. So in the end, even though SilentStorm got ran over 2 games in a row, not even really close, those were 2 bad matchups for him on paper. Maybe he can target this Shaman and beat it 3 times.
Yeah, is it going to be aggro Snowman or is it going to be the control Snowman?
I mean, he's played a combo deck, he just played an aggro deck, and Priest is kind of like a control deck too, so maybe a mid-range Shaman. It'd be interesting to see a mix of it, but I'm probably leaning towards either control or aggro. Probably control Shaman.
Once upon a time, mid-range Shaman wreaked havoc over the hordes of players trying to wade their way through the standard ranked play ladder.
That's right.
It was oppressive, but it is oppressive no longer. But we'll see. It looks like
it was an aggro because I saw a crackle. but
yeah.
I mean, Thanos isn't in every single aggro shaman build these days for Wild.
Yeah, it's still could be. It's aggro.
Yeah, yeah.
And gonna get the good old patches, the Poorit.
That's right, the plumber. Patches the plumber.
It's me.
It's a me, Patches. I mean, they call it swapping the poop deck for a reason.
Yes, they do. Because of patches.
Oh, interesting. He's got Devolve as well.
Huh,
I mean,
maybe it is mid-range.
It could be a mid-range deck. I mean,
It could be a hybrid.
right, just like a fast shaman, not necessarily an aggro one.
Yeah.
Just trying to tempo your opponent out.
Yeah, environmentally friendly as well.
Is it, though? Is it? I mean, look at SilentStorm's hand right now. It's looking very weak. And yeah, it looks like GingaNinja has Azure Drake and Devolve, which kind of leans towards a mid-range shaman, but it might not even need it at this point because he's just trucking over SilentStorm's awkward hand.
Yeah.
And SilentStorm plays a Tar Creeper, but this can be a lot of damage if GingaNinja just gets through with Devolve. Let's count actually how much damage he has right now. He doesn't need to Devolve if he doesn't have to.
5, 6, 7, plus 4, 11, plus the Molten Reflection on the Evolved Kobold.
So he's basically got lethal, right?
I'm just covering all our bases here. Since
That was a very impressive line, man.
It was.
Very impressive line. I mean, I'm not used to looking at Molten Reflection at 2 mana, so that caught me off guard. This guy see the lines.
he sees the lines. I think he's going to take a much more conservative approach to the game. Picks up Sir Finley.
Okay. So
Light Tapper Steady Shot.
right.
Not bad.
Life Tap's really powerful. Doesn't even necessarily need to do it immediately, but because Jade Claws overloads for his Azure Drake, chooses to go for it.
This is like SilentStorm's worst nightmare right now. He's got Kazakus, but he does not have Reno Jackson yet. That's an acidic swamp who's tucked in the leaves over there to the far left. I don't know if SilentStorm's going to have a way out.
Well, Deathlord can stall, but the Kazakus can also get a 1-mana potion this turn, too. So
But if he doesn't
He's
pick up a
dead.
way to do something to the board or gain health or both, then he is dead.
2 damage to all minions. Deal 3 damage. So he can clear almost the entire board, right? Except for the Finley.
The Finley, yeah, that is true.
That's assuming that he picked the right option. He did pick pretty fast, so I'm assuming that he did pick the AoE.
It's one thing that we've come to learn from SilentStorm over the course of watching his career, as Dan and I have done for a very long time now. I think 3 years we've been casting some of his matches. He plays very fast a lot of times. He actually picked summon a friendly minion that died this game because he knew that he would get the Tar Creeper back.
Interesting.
This actually sort of removes more power off the board if you assume that he'll have to put in power to that Tar Creeper to.
Right. Instead of 3 health, he gained 5.
Yeah.
Well, GingaNinja has ways to remove and kind of take it a little bit slower. Life Tap, what it allows you to do is let you play resource conservative and make sure that you can plan around the inevitable Reno. The nice thing for GingaNinja is he's also saw that SilentStorm used his coin, so he can't coin Reno. He can continue to set up a lethal over 2 turns.
Rolls through in the crackle, but the important thing is he's able to protect this Totem Golem to keep trucking away. And he still has lethal set up the following turn because he's going to have 4 mana available for the Jade Lightning because he's overloaded for 2.
Right.
So if nothing is done here, which is very unlikely. I mean, Ooze plus Deathlord seems like a very appealing option.
Yeah, Ooze Deathlord seems pretty good. Definitely don't think Dirty Rat is off the table, but definitely want to remove the weapon at least because you have Dirty Rat and Demon Wrath in the following turns too.
Yeah, but this is still a race against time for SilentStorm. He needs to pick up a way to heal back up. Antique Heal Bot, Reno Jackson.
GingaNinja, oh man, if he had a most mana, he should be able to continue to set up a lethal. But the big problem is, what if SilentStorm has Reno Jackson on the other end? Devolve.
Well, he can set up for if he just goes all face, then he can set up for Jade Lightning next turn to end the game. You can put him at.
Yeah, I like it.
3.
Okay. He also can, I think he still has the ability to remove this Garrison Commander and still be able to threaten lethal with Jade Lightning plus his weapon. And it's a little bit safer against Reno, I guess?
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, that's not it. SilentStorm can Dirty Rat, though, but that's going to pull out the... That's going to pull out the Azure Drake.
Oh, looks like he's not going to do anything. If he goes with this Demon Wrath, he is dead. Actually, no, not yet.
He's not.
Just kidding.
Completely dead. He's 1 damage away from lethal right now. But GingaNinja just needs a little bit extra juice here. Oh, I think that might be enough.
Patches?
Yeah, if he pulls out Patches, then Jade Lane
Oh, no, he
does
pulled
5
out Patches on turn 1 with the South Sea Deckhand.
Oh, you're right, you're right, you're right.
And now he's mana short.
Man, if SilentStorm picks out Reno here and just completely gets saved by it.
Can Reno come in the clutch? It's basically Reno or bust for SilentStorm. He needs it.
No, he can tap for a heal bot? No, he's still dead if that's the case, but he's still got to tap. That's his best chance here, maybe.
Just got to hope that he has not a single point of damage in his deck, and that means that GingaNinja gives us a smile. He's moving on to the lower bracket finals. 1 more match for him, and he's through to the live finals, and that means SilentStorm's run has come to an end.
Yeah, a great display from GingaNinja, just a proficient understanding of all the matchups and specifically the weaknesses of the Reno decks. You know, I got to hand to SilentStorm. Getting top 4 is a great accomplishment, but GingaNinja really just flexed his muscles this series. He got some of the good cards that he needed. He kind of understood every single important win condition of the series and was able to take it 3-0 very convincing. And
you can see a sigh of relief from GingaNinja, but also a look of determination at the end, knowing that he still has 1 more match to win in order to move on to the live finals.
That's right. That's right. So he'll go on to play Control, who, you know, I'm actually kind of rooting for because Control helped me a lot in terms of coaching some wild knowledge about a month ago. So I really hope that he can continue to do well. But you know what? GingaNinja is definitely looking pretty sharp as well. I wouldn't mind him going through either. Yeah, some really solid play from him, like the lines that he took with Freeze Mage, and also just being efficient with his damage at the end there with the aggro shaman, you know, hedging his bets against Reno Jackson by not going for the 100% guaranteed setup for lethal, but, you know, making sure that he had as clean of a board as possible if Reno were to come out and set himself up for, you know, his best possible chance for victory, even post Reno. So definitely some solid play overall from him. You got to feel for SilentStorm though to come, you know, this far. He had a tough bracket to fight through and made it to this top 4 and went out in a 3-0. It's tough to end that way, but, you know, gotta commend him as well for his efforts. But it does look like we have an interview ready with GingaNinja. So let's go ahead and get him online. Hey man, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, first off, man, big congratulations, and I want to sort of ask you a little bit about your preparation. Wild's a weird format. How did you end up preparing for the Wild Open?
It was a lot of practice for the weeks before. Like pretty much, I played only Freeze Mage to top 64, pretty much. So that was guaranteed, really, and it was just best decks, I thought.
Yeah, we could tell that you showed a lot of proficiency on the Freeze Mage. You saw the things that we didn't see. That was a really impressive game.
Yeah, man. That Molten Reflection on turn 2 is really impressive to see how it worked out the way you wanted it to. So good job. Just want to say that. No question. Back to you, DJ.
Did you just play rank play to practice, or did you you know, queue up some game against other players? What other things did you do?
I played a bit against friends. It was mostly ranked for it. So it was, yeah, rank 16 isn't the best for it, for the reset. So it was a lot against friends.
Okay, and your last matchup in order to qualify for the live finals is going to be up against Control, who's a well-known Wild player. How are you feeling going into that matchup? Are you feeling pretty confident in your chances?
A little nervous. I think he was my 1 loss in the bracket, but I think I kind of played that wrong anyway. So hopefully, I can just play better and might get it off.
All right, man. Well, you impressed us. So good luck in your final match, and we look forward to watching that match. So thanks.
GingaNinja.
That's him.
Yeah, man. The guy's chipping and chopping his way through.
Yeah.
He's got the moves.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, honestly, in all seriousness, I think I really love that his attitude is just kind of like, I got to play better, man. I got to work harder, take the right lines, and like, you know, that was my mistake. I didn't get unlucky necessarily. Maybe it was a combination of unfortunate circumstances and also maybe a couple mistakes. But at least he's owning up to it, and I think that's a good head on the shoulders. And he's feeling really confident. And now it doesn't matter if you meet in the winners or losers. You just got to win in order to move on.
Yeah, one more, and let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket before we move on to that final match. Last one, Control versus GingaNinja. Control beat GingaNinja through the bracket phase for GingaNinja's only loss so far. So we'll see if he can come back. As he said he played it wrong. So maybe he's got a little bit more confidence going through, but feeling nervous. And Control also has to be feeling it a little bit because he's coming off of a loss, a very close loss against McNuggets. So he's got to sort of, you know, rewind and refresh his thoughts and try and come in with a nice mindset.
Yeah, I think the important thing is now these guys kind of know what each other are playing. They know the decks. Control knows that Mage is a freeze mage. GingaNinja knows that, you know, Control has that priest in his lineup and like what it really does specifically with all these crazy inner fire stuff. And so now these guys with information in their back pocket, how does that series adjust? Does this time, because GingaNinja realizes what Control does, is he going to be favorited because he won't have any surprises against him now?
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be coming up in a few moments. Let's go ahead and take a look at who these guys are fighting to join. McNuggets, we saw just a few matches earlier, qualifies the first player from the Americas, joining the 2 players from Europe as well as China. But we still have 3 more TBD spots left, which means we still have a ton more matches to go. Asia Pacific is going to be after the Americas bracket, where we're going to see their top 4 fight it out for their 2 spots. But one more match for the Americas, guys. It's going to be coming up in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. More Wild Open right after this.